Welcome to the Super Bowl edition of the J&J Sports Express. I'm your host, Jeff Cadillac. As always, my co-host for the evening is JB Ellis. JB, how are you tonight?
Doing good, doing good. Just planning out the trip headed to Las Vegas in a few days. Getting ready to cover the Chiefs. That's like old news. I cover the Chiefs every year, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And the 49ers. So we covered the NFC Championship game. So we've covered them too. So nothing new on the Super Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
but two good
Well,
teams.
wanted to let everybody know also this is going to be our last show of the season. One of the things that's coming up, if you do follow us and our activities, I'll be part of the National Scouting Combine in Westfield, Indiana. That's the home of the Indianapolis Colts training facility in Indiana, February 18th through the 22nd. JB will be covering it for Sideline Sports. I'm part of the National Scouting Combine staff. Just want to let everybody know you may see some NFL players come out of this combine or CFL players come out of this combine. There's a lot of scouts from the CFL and the NFL are going to be there. A lot of players from around the country, Division One schools, going to be putting on a show for a lot of the scouts that are going to be there. Hopefully, it's a good week. JB and I will be there. Hopefully, you can catch it. On what network is it going to be streaming on, JB?
NGBN. It's right on the bottom of the screen. Scrolling right past you.
NGBN, yes, NGBN. If you can catch it on live on streaming, you'll see
Download it.
interviews with players. You'll see interviews with people that are running it. It's a nice combine. It's in its 13th year. So anyway, let's get moving to the Super Bowl. This year, Kansas City, come on, sixth straight championship game, fourth Super Bowl in 5 years for Kansas City. San Francisco is actually the favorite by 2 points. But let's talk about the two games that were leading up to this. I mean, you got last week's Kansas City at Baltimore. I liked Kansas City to win the game. If you followed me and you read my website, I loved Kansas City in that game. Mahomes and company. And JB, you also liked Kansas City in that game, correct?
Correct. It comes down to pedigree. They're champions. They know what to do when the chips are out there. They've done it time and time again.
Mahomes, the funny thing is we watched Brady for 20 years, basically. Win games, go to the Super Bowl. People were getting tired of him. Then he passes the torch. And in the process, he beats Mahomes 2 times, one time in the Super Bowl, one time in a championship game. Now you got Mahomes in every year. It's but he, without a doubt, I really was thinking about it a lot this week so far. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, hands down. If you're telling me that anybody else, I don't care what their stats are, what their QBR is and the whatever, all of that stuff doesn't matter. It's all about the wins and losses. And Mahomes.
I love to argue with you, but I can't on this. You're 100% right. I live to argue with you. I can't wait. It's on my schedule every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Argue with Jeff Cadillac. That's how I have it on my schedule. It's not we have a show. It's argue with Jeff Cadillac. I can't even argue with you about this.
In sports, it's wins and losses. Lamar Jackson, he wins the MVP. Congratulations. But you know what? He's watching the Super Bowl at home, okay? You got teams that are home. I don't care who they are. They're all pro. It's nice to be an all pro. It's nice to be MVP. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's winning the last game of the season. Nobody cares who came in second. Nobody cares. You went to the playoffs. You won the Super Bowl, and that's the most important thing in the NFL, pro football. Talk to Brady. He's got 7 of them. Mahomes, he wins this one, he'll already have 3, and he'll be on his way. It's like, you took Belichick, Tom Brady, and Rob Gronkowski. Now you got Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, and Travis Kelce. It's unbelievable. A good tight end and Hall of Fame tight end. And no question, Rob Gronkowski wasn't there from the beginning of Tom Brady's ascension to the best quarterback ever. But He was there for half the ride, and he got himself 4 rings. Travis Kelce's been there. He was there on Kansas City before Mahomes got there. But the defense is the one thing that has been playing lights out for Kansas City this year. And they took it to Baltimore last week. Unbelievable. I mean, Baltimore made some mistakes. You had Lamar Jackson threw into that triple coverage. He was trying to make something out of nothing. He should have done a check down. Didn't bother. Zay Flowers.
Run the damn ball. Run the damn ball.
Yeah.
What happened to running the ball?
In the second half of that game, Baltimore ran for a total of 5 yards. They ran 2 times for 5 yards. And they didn't even set it up like they looked like they were going to run the ball. They had nobody in the backfield most of the time, and they were looking to pass the ball. They didn't even try to fool Kansas City, okay? That's how desperate they got. They threw the whole playbook out. And Zay Flowers also, the immaturity of a rookie or this new generation, he catches the ball. He right away gets up, tosses the ball down at the defender. Then he taunts him 15 yards. Kansas City, believe me, they're well coached. They're told, don't do any of this stuff. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. And then what happens? Zay Flowers also fumbles into the end zone, and it's a touchback. He cost the team a touchdown. And he cost the team, that field position after that. And what happens? Kansas City defense, they gave up a field goal in the second half against Baltimore. Baltimore was the first-rated offense in the NFL. They couldn't get it done against this defense because
it was horrible. They weren't playing their game. I don't know, what game film they watched from the Chiefs that said, let's go out there and do what we're not good at and try and beat the team that gets to the Super Bowl most years in our conference. But it was horrible. Run the damn ball.
Spagnuolo, who was the defense coordinator of Kansas City, was showing Baltimore different looks on every play. And Baltimore didn't know what hit them. They completely prepared for that game, and Baltimore was not prepared. And they couldn't score. They couldn't do anything. They scored 1 touchdown, and that was it. In the other game, Detroit should have won that game, hands down. You're up 24-7 at halftime. Then they're up 24-10. And, I like Dan Campbell as the coach, okay? I like Dan Campbell as Detroit Lions coach, but he cost the team the win. Because if you kick the field goal, you're up 27-10. That's 3 scores.
Why wouldn't you go for a field? What are you thinking?
3 scores. Because even if you got two-point, you got 2 touchdowns with 2 2-point conversions, that's only 16. Okay? You still got to go back down the field, which is not the easiest thing to do. Up to that point, they hadn't scored. They scored 1 touchdown. So why wouldn't you want to go up 17 points? You kick that field goal, it's a whole different ball game. It's 27-10. At the time it happened, I was completely like, you got to be kidding me. You're taking points off the board. These are the playoffs. You take the points when you can get them. You do not play, during the season, aggressiveness, you got to be aggressive because you want to get to this point in the season that you're playing for the NFC Championship. But you take points against teams that you might not get the chance to do later on. What happens? They miss the 4th down. San Francisco goes the other way, touchdown. Then on the ensuing possession, Detroit fumbles. Before you know it, it's 24 up. Detroit was dead in the water from that point on. It was like it was a
It's
car
all
ride.
about momentum. Football, any sport, anytime you play a game, it's momentum. You can't just go and, change the momentum by not taking points. That's how you win. You put pressure on teams by going up large amounts. 3 points doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's 3 scores because you got 3 points, changes the game. That would have basically been the nail in the coffin.
Completely.
Instead, Dan Campbell learned in Dallas, where his defense that week was playing lights out, didn't take the tie and played it over. Could have played it overtime and won that game and locked up the number 2 seed in week whatever it was, 17, 16.
They should have won that game against Dallas. I'm sorry. That was a play.
But you go
they
for
should have won 21-19.
but you go for the tie.
No,
And
that official blew that because he went
I
up.
get that,
So
but after that play, because the officials suck no matter what. So after that play, you kick the extra point and you move on and you play in overtime and you win the game.
well,
You can't just risk everything. This isn't the stock market, and you're
well,
uh
I think
Enron.
in this situation, you also had some Detroit players that dropped passes, but that's the cause and effect. That's after the fact. The fact of the matter is, you went on fourth down and you didn't make it. Another fourth down, the play wasn't even close. You're basically putting your team in a hole.
Yeah.
And he should have, and he in the post conference he said, I would have done it again. Well, you know what? I don't think you would have done it again. I really don't. If you knew now what you know, I knew at the moment it was the worst, from analyzing football for so many years, you don't do that. You don't take points off, especially in a playoff game against
Mr.
a team
Cadillac,
like San Francisco.
Mr. Cadillac, you've watched football for how many years?
Too
Many,
long.
right? And I said this on Sideline Sports yesterday. After you watch football for so many years, you kind of get the impression after you watch a half or so what's going to happen, and you see when momentum changes, and you can kind of tell what's going to happen next. Like for example, the Green Bay San Francisco game on the group text, Jordan Love's going to throw an interception to end the game. Last week, when the 49ers were playing, Detroit on the ball, group text, 49ers are going to go up 10 after Detroit doesn't do anything. Sure enough, exactly what happened. Because after you watch enough football, and I'm not saying you can do it before the game, because before the game, God only knows what's going to happen. But during the game, when you watch, you see how people are performing, and then you get stupid things where you don't take points. It's the championship game. You take the points. What is wrong with you? And then to say you do it again, you're a great coach. You get the most out of your players, but you're losing the game for them. They
That's
gave
right.
their heart and soul, and you said, we lost. I'll do it again next week if I get to play. What is wrong with you?
You're right. You're right. So now that we've dissected the two championship games, let's get on to the game at hand. The San Francisco 49ers are considered the road team here, but they're the favorite. -2 against Kansas City. JB, I'll let you go first on this one. What do you think? How do you like it?
So it's going to be a close game. I don't see either team being more dominant. On one side, you have a team of all pros except for their quarterback. In San Francisco, they have all pros everywhere. Ayuk, Debo, McCaffrey, who should be the MVP, Kittles, who's really good at the second best tight end on the field during this game. Their defense, Chase Young, Bosa, it just goes on and on. John Lynch has done an amazing job putting that roster together. Then you go to Kansas City. You got Mahomes, obviously the best quarterback in the game at the moment. You have Pacheco, who's been phenomenal. That he stepped up from Rutgers. I am so impressed by the way he's played. I would not expect anything from Pacheco when he started. I don't think the Chiefs expected what they got out of him, but he's been a great help, especially with the wide receiver issues that Kansas City's had. And the thing that impressed me most last week, Travis Kelce stepped up. He's been MIA for at least 8 weeks or so. Whether he was hurt, distracted, just not playing well, it happens. Sometimes you just go into a rut where you don't have good games back to back to back. And on top of that, he's really their only receiver, except that the young kid Rice, who's starting to step up.
Rashee Rice.
Yeah, he's playing well, but he's the only guy. You got Kelce and Rice. That's it. So it's Mahomes doesn't have the weapons he had in years past. Using Pacheco, I think, is the key because it kind of balances their offense, and their defense is not like Andy Reid's defense. Any year he's been in Kansas City. It reminds me of maybe when he was back in Philly, when he had much better defenses. And you got, my opinion, better coach on Kansas City, better quarterback, running back. Obviously, San Francisco has the edge. Defense, Kansas City has the edge. Receivers, San Francisco. Wide tight end, Kansas City. But when it's all said and done, with championship pedigree, how are we going to go against Mahomes when there's pressure? He went to Buffalo, came back and won the game. Went to Baltimore, did just enough to win the game. You know, we could talk about fumbles at the 1 yard line, stupid taunting penalties in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson thrown into triple coverage. But when it's all said and done, the man went on the road 2 weeks in a row against teams that should have beaten him, and yet he's moving on and they're going home. You know, and it's going to happen again in the Super Bowl because on paper, the 49ers are the best team in the NFL, and they're going to go home without the Lombardi trophy. Andy Reid's going to get to retire and ride off in the sunset if he chooses to. Maybe he'll stay, maybe he'll go. Patrick Mahomes will get to win another championship. Kelsey will get to go on the rest of the tour with Swift for a couple of months. And, you know, Tony will be cut or traded at some point because he lost his mind last week. And Rashee Rice will be the number one receiver on that team.
So I happen to agree with you that Kansas City's going to win, but I happen to think that Kansas City's going to win by a touchdown in this game. Like I said about the defense, the Kansas City defense is this is the best defense that San Francisco is honestly going to see the whole season. They are number 4 in total defense. They are number 4 against the pass. They are number 17 against the run. This is a team that Steve Spagnuolo is going to throw different looks at Brock Purdy, and he's not going to know what hit him because you have a team that they know how to play. That secondary is shut down. They have a bunch of no names in that secondary, but you want to know something? They shut you down. They're like your shadow. And that's what San Francisco hasn't seen. They saw that against Baltimore, and they got shellacked. Remember, Baltimore beat up on San Francisco. I could tell you right now that Mahomes is looking at film on San Francisco right now. He's going to look at film throughout the whole week. He's going to be completely prepared. And the offense, I mean, Mahomes is like Brady. He takes it personal when he is a dog. These 3 games in a row, the Chiefs are a dog in all 3 games. He takes it personal. Like I said before, Brady used to take it personal when he was a dog, and he used to come out fighting like a champ. And this is what we have here. You have a guy who wants to win every game. He's like Brady. He learned a lot from Brady, maybe from watching Brady, maybe from talking to Brady, maybe from watching film on Brady. But the thing is that they both have that mindset where they want to win every game, and they take it personal when they're a dog. And I love, Pacheco. He adds an extra something because he's like a pit bull behind, and he gets the needed yardage when they need it most. He's reliable. Rashee Rice is stepping into his own. Travis Kelce, say what you want about this season. Yes, he did have a down season this year. But you know what? Come playoff time, he didn't drop anything. He wasn't dropping one ball. The over-under, by the way, on him on pass catches last week was 7. And I told a lot of people, I said, bet over 7 because he's going to catch over 7. He ended up catching 11. So if you listen to me and you actually bet it, then you're walking away a winner. But I'm telling you, the defense, San Francisco is they're a good team. I'm not going to take anything from them. And you mentioned a lot of guys on offense, but that Kansas City defense is better. And that's what San Francisco is going to face. They know that last week when they had a spotter on Lamar Jackson, he got 54 yards, but he didn't personally beat them. Okay? Lamar Jackson, he couldn't do it. He just, he has a chance to win some games. He's still a young guy, but it goes through Kansas City, whether it's on the road or at Kansas City. And I love Kansas City in this game. I got to tell you, I loved Kansas City last week against Baltimore. Everybody was talking Baltimore. I loved Kansas City. Kansas City's going to beat San Francisco by a touchdown. That's my feeling here. You heard it first, and I'll be posting it on my website tomorrow.
Is that your lock of the week?
That's my pick of the week. That's my Super Bowl pick of the week. But it's the pick of the week because I like Kansas City. Take the 2 points. They're going to win by a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't disagree with you. I think they're going to win. I don't know about the touchdown, but it's going to be a good game. I think whether they win by a touchdown or not, that's not a blowout. It'll be interesting to watch, but I think that the Chiefs just have the right mindset. Sometimes, you could be more talented, but when you play someone that just has the right mindset, the champion mentality, when the chips were down, Mahomes and Kelsey were different.
Yeah, it's like Brady and Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Gronkowski never dropped the ball.
No.
I could rarely remember him dropping a pass.
Yeah.
I mean, his hands were like glue.
Yep. It's insane.
Yeah. So,
but where can people find you?
You can find me at jeffcadillac.com. You can find me on Twitter. And if you're watching the National Scouting Combine, which will take place from February 18th through February 22nd from the Indianapolis Colts training facility in Westfield, Indiana, on NGBN.
So JB _ the program on X. I'll be out at the Combine with Jeff. Make sure you download NGBN now. It's Sneak Peek, Android, Roku, Amazon Fire. Download it now. Get the app. Sneak Peek Sideline Sports is live every Tuesday, 8:30 there. I'm headed out to Vegas Sunday morning. We got Radio Row all week. A lot of great guests lined up. We got Lee Steinberg. I was just putting the calendar together. I'm excited. We have some phenomenal guests you're going to want to watch. We're going to be live all week on the NGBN app, so make sure you have it. You're not going to want to miss it. And don't forget, Jeff Cadillac had a great year. He's picking the Chiefs. I'm with them, and I told you I live to argue with the man. I can't argue with him this week. It's on the schedule, on my Google schedule thing that I learned how to use. Don't tell anyone I know how to use it, but I figured it out tonight. It says argue with Jeff Cadillac, and I can't even do that. He ruined the Super Bowl. Well, that and Dan Campbell, the two guys that ruined the Super Bowl.
Take care, folks. See you all next season.
See you all later.